The greatest prison is not made of steel. It is built from the invisible need to be accepted. Many people spend their entire lives adjusting their words, hiding their true thoughts, changing their personalities, and sacrificing their peace, all for a moment of approval that disappears as quickly as it arrives. They smile when they want to speak. They agree when they know they should refuse. They become experts at pleasing everyone except themselves. And without realizing it, they slowly lose the one person they were meant to protect the most. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must ask a difficult question. Who am I living for? If your happiness rises and falls with the opinions of others, then your life is no longer in your hands. It belongs to the crowd. Every compliment lifts you. Every criticism breaks you. Every rejection feels like a wound, because your value has been placed in the hands of people who may never truly understand you. But a life built on approval is a life built on shifting sand. People change, opinions change, expectations never end. Today they applaud you, tomorrow they question you. If your identity depends on their voices, then peace will always remain just beyond your reach. The strongest individuals understand something that most people discover too late. Respect cannot be borrowed from others. It must be created within yourself. The day you stop asking the world to tell you who you are is the day your real strength begins. You no longer need permission to follow your path. You no longer fear disappointing those who never intended to understand your journey. Instead of chasing applause, you begin chasing character. Instead of collecting approval, you begin building integrity. This is not about becoming cold or arrogant. It is about standing so firmly in your values that praise cannot inflate you and criticism cannot destroy you. It is about choosing truth over comfort, discipline over popularity, and self-respect over temporary acceptance. Today, we will explore why seeking approval silently steals your confidence, how self-respect transforms every decision you make, and why the most peaceful people are often the ones who no longer need anyone else's permission to live the life they know is right. Because the moment you stop begging to be accepted, you finally become impossible to control. Self-respect is born in the quiet moment when you decide that your value is no longer determined by the opinions of other people. Most individuals begin life looking outward for acceptance. As children, we seek approval from parents. As students, we seek recognition from teachers and friends. As adults, we often continue the same pattern, hoping that praise from colleagues, partners, or strangers will confirm that we are enough. There is nothing wrong with appreciating encouragement, but the problem begins when approval becomes a necessity rather than a pleasant addition. The moment your confidence depends on someone else's opinion, you surrender control over your emotional well-being. Your happiness becomes fragile because it is placed in the hands of people whose thoughts, moods, and judgments constantly change. Think about how many decisions are influenced by the fear of disappointing others. People remain in unhealthy relationships because they worry about being judged. They stay in careers that drain their spirit because they want to appear successful. They silence their opinions to avoid conflict, even when their conscience tells them to speak. Every compromise made against one's own values slowly weakens self-respect. It rarely disappears all at once. Instead, it fades quietly through countless moments when you choose acceptance over authenticity. The search for approval is endless because every person has different expectations. No matter how carefully you shape yourself, someone will still disagree with you. If you try to satisfy one group, another may criticize your choices. If you change your behavior to earn praise today, tomorrow new expectations will replace the old ones. You find yourself running on a path that has no finish line. The destination keeps moving because external validation is never permanent. It offers temporary comfort, but never lasting peace. Self-respect begins when you recognize this endless cycle and decide to step away from it. It is not an act of rebellion against others. It is an act of loyalty towards yourself. You begin asking different questions. Instead of wondering whether people will approve, you ask whether your actions align with your principles. Instead of seeking applause, you seek integrity. Instead of chasing popularity, you pursue character. These small changes transform the way you live, because your decisions are no longer guided by fear but by conviction. Many people misunderstand self-respect as stubbornness or pride. In reality, genuine self-respect creates humility because it frees you from the exhausting need to prove your worth. You no longer compete for attention. You no longer feel compelled to explain every decision or defend every choice. Your actions speak with quiet confidence. You understand that not everyone will understand your journey, and that is perfectly acceptable. Peace replaces the constant anxiety of trying to fit into every expectation. Imagine a tree growing deep in the forest. It does not ask the birds whether it should grow taller. It does not seek permission from the wind before spreading its branches. It simply follows its nature, growing stronger season after season, because its roots reach deep into the earth. Human beings are no different. When your roots are planted in your values, discipline, and honesty, outside opinions become like changing weather. They may shake your branches for a while, but they cannot uproot you. This inner stability does not appear overnight. It is built through daily choices. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-respect grows. Every time you refuse to betray your principles for temporary acceptance, your confidence becomes stronger. Every time you say no to something that conflicts with your values, you reinforce the belief that your life belongs to you. These moments may seem small, but together they create an unbreakable foundation. There will always be voices offering criticism, advice, praise, or judgment. Some will admire your path, while others will question it. If you depend on either praise or criticism, you remain emotionally controlled by forces outside yourself. Freedom begins when you realize that neither applause nor rejection defines your identity. Your worth is measured by the honesty of your actions, the strength of your discipline, and the courage to remain true to yourself even when standing alone. In that quiet independence, approval loses its power, and self-respect becomes the steady force that guides every decision you make, allowing your life to reflect your deepest values rather than the changing expectations of the world around you. The desire to be accepted is one of the most natural human instincts. We are social beings, and connection gives life meaning. However, there is a significant difference between appreciating acceptance and becoming dependent on it. The moment your decisions are driven by the need for approval, you begin paying a price that is often invisible at first. It is not measured in money or possessions. It is measured in lost confidence, compromised values, and the gradual disappearance of your authentic self. Every time you abandon your own judgment to satisfy someone else's expectations, you trade a small piece of your inner freedom for temporary comfort. Many people spend years believing that if they can simply earn enough praise, everything will finally feel complete. They work harder than necessary to impress others, constantly seek compliments, avoid disagreement, and shape their personalities according to what they think people want to see. Yet, even after receiving recognition, the feeling of satisfaction rarely lasts. Soon another opinion matters, another expectation appears, and another standard must be met. The pursuit never ends because external approval can never provide permanent security. It is like trying to fill a container with water while a hole remains at the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, it is never enough. One of the greatest costs of chasing acceptance is the loss of authenticity. Instead of asking yourself what you truly believe, you begin asking what others expect you to believe. Instead of expressing your genuine thoughts, you choose the safest words. You slowly become an actor performing a role rather than a person living with honesty. Over time, this creates an uncomfortable distance between who you really are and who you pretend to be. That distance becomes a source of stress because maintaining a false image requires constant effort. Fear becomes another hidden cost. When your identity depends on other people's approval, every criticism feels like a personal attack. A simple disagreement can ruin your entire day. One negative comment outweighs 10 compliments because your emotional stability is built upon fragile foundations. You begin avoiding challenges, avoiding difficult conversations, and avoiding any action that might lead to rejection. Instead of living with courage, you live with caution, constantly calculating how others might react. This fear also weakens decision-making. Imagine standing at a crossroads where one path reflects your values and the other promises approval from the people around you. If pleasing others becomes your highest priority, you will repeatedly choose the second path, even when you know it leads away from the life you truly desire. Years later, many people look back with regret, not because they failed, but because they never gave themselves permission to pursue what genuinely mattered. Their greatest disappointment is not the opinions of others, but the knowledge that they ignored their own voice. Relationships are also affected. Ironically, those who constantly seek approval often struggle to build genuine connections. When people are always trying to please everyone, they hide their true thoughts and feelings. Others may admire their kindness, but they never truly know the person behind the mask. Authentic relationships require honesty, and honesty cannot exist where fear of rejection controls every conversation. Real respect comes from being sincere, not from constantly agreeing with everyone. Another cost is the loss of self-trust. Every time you ignore your intuition to satisfy someone else, you teach yourself that your own judgment cannot be trusted. Eventually, even small decisions become difficult because you constantly seek reassurance. You ask for opinions before taking action. You hesitate before making choices. Confidence fades because confidence grows through independent action, not endless confirmation from others. Nature offers a powerful lesson. A mountain does not lower itself because someone dislikes its height. The ocean does not stop moving because someone complains about the waves. The sun does not seek applause before it rises each morning. Everything in nature fulfills its purpose without asking for permission. Human beings are often the only ones who delay their own growth while waiting for approval that may never come. Freedom begins when you recognize that acceptance is pleasant but unnecessary for your sense of worth. You understand that criticism is not proof of failure, just as praise is not proof of greatness. Both are opinions, and opinions change with circumstances. What remains constant is your character, your discipline, and your willingness to live according to your principles. The more you build your identity upon these foundations, the less power outside voices have over your emotions. There will always be people who misunderstand your intentions, question your decisions, or disagree with your direction. Their reactions belong to them, not to you. Your responsibility is not to satisfy every expectation, but to remain faithful to your values with honesty and consistency. When you stop measuring your life by the approval you receive, you recover something far more valuable than admiration. You recover the freedom to become exactly who you were meant to be, guided by conviction instead of fear, and strengthened by the quiet certainty that your worth has never depended on anyone else's permission to exist. One of the clearest signs of genuine self-respect is the ability to remain silent when unnecessary explanations would only drain your energy. Many people believe they must justify every decision, defend every action, and respond to every misunderstanding. They feel uncomfortable when someone disagrees with them or questions their choices. As a result, they spend countless hours trying to convince people who have already decided not to understand. This habit is not born from strength. More often, it is born from the fear of being judged or rejected. The need to explain everything reveals an invisible dependence on approval, while silence often reflects an unshakable confidence in one's own values. Consider how much energy is wasted arguing with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. No matter how carefully you choose your words, some individuals will only hear what confirms their existing beliefs. They are not searching for truth, they are searching for evidence that supports their opinions. In these situations, more explanation rarely creates more understanding. Instead, it creates frustration, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. A person with self-respect recognizes this reality and understands that not every conversation deserves their attention. Silence should never be confused with weakness. Many assume that remaining quiet means having nothing to say or lacking the courage to speak. In reality, silence often requires greater discipline than reacting immediately. Anyone can answer with anger, defend themselves in every argument, or attempt to win every debate. It takes far more inner strength to pause, observe, and choose not to participate in battles that serve no meaningful purpose. This kind of restraint reflects emotional maturity rather than fear. There is a powerful difference between proving yourself and knowing yourself. Those who constantly seek validation feel compelled to explain every choice because they hope their words will earn acceptance. Those who truly know themselves understand that their actions carry more weight than endless explanations. Character is not built through persuasive speeches, but through consistent behavior. If your life reflects honesty, integrity, and discipline, time will reveal the truth more effectively than any argument ever could. Think about a river flowing toward the sea. It does not stop at every stone to argue about its direction. It continues moving with quiet determination because its destination is clear. In the same way, a person who lives with purpose does not pause to answer every criticism or satisfy every opinion. They understand that constant distraction slows progress. Every unnecessary argument steals attention from the work that truly matters. Instead of investing energy in defending their path, they invest it in walking the path with consistency. This does not mean ignoring wise advice or refusing constructive criticism. Humility remains an essential part of self-respect. A wise person listens carefully, reflects honestly, and learns whenever improvement is needed. The difference lies in motivation. They are not listening because they desperately need approval. They are listening because growth matters more than pride. When criticism contains truth, they accept it with gratitude. When it is rooted only in misunderstanding or negativity, they let it pass without allowing it to disturb their peace. Many conflicts continue far longer than necessary because both sides are trying to have the final word. Each response creates another response, and each explanation invites another challenge. Eventually, the original issue disappears beneath layers of emotion and ego. A person with self-respect understands that peace is often found not in winning an argument, but in refusing to make unnecessary conflict a permanent part of life. They recognize that silence can close doors, that endless words would leave open. Another reason silence reflects strength is that it protects your focus. Every minute spent defending yourself against meaningless opinions is a minute not spent improving your life. Great achievements require concentration, discipline, and emotional stability. Constantly reacting to criticism scatters your attention and weakens your ability to pursue meaningful goals. When you stop feeling responsible for changing every person's opinion, your mind becomes lighter, your decisions become clearer, and your actions become more deliberate. People may misunderstand your intentions, question your motives, or judge your choices without knowing your full story. This has always been part of the human experience. Trying to eliminate every misunderstanding is impossible because each person interprets the world through their own experiences and beliefs. Your responsibility is not to control their perception, but to remain faithful to your principles. Over time, consistent actions speak with a voice that explanations can never match. Trust, respect, and credibility are earned through the life you live, rather than the arguments you win, and the quiet confidence to let your character speak for itself becomes one of the strongest expressions of true self-respect and lasting inner freedom. Real confidence is often misunderstood. Many people believe confidence comes from praise, popularity, success, or the admiration of others. They think that once enough people recognize their abilities, they will finally feel secure. But confidence built upon external recognition is fragile because it depends on circumstances that are always changing. Praise can disappear, success can fade, popularity can shift overnight. If your sense of worth is tied to these things, then your confidence rises and falls with events beyond your control. Lasting confidence is built differently. It grows quietly from within through discipline, integrity, and the promises you keep to yourself. Every promise you make to yourself is a test of your character. When you tell yourself that you will wake up early, exercise, study, meditate, or complete an important task, you create an opportunity to strengthen your self-respect. Each time you honor that commitment, you send a powerful message to your mind. I can trust myself. That simple belief becomes the foundation of genuine confidence. On the other hand, every broken promise weakens that foundation. It teaches your mind that your own words cannot be relied upon, making self-doubt stronger with every excuse. Many people wait until they feel motivated before taking action. They believe confidence comes first and discipline follows. The truth is often the opposite. Confidence grows because of disciplined action. A person does not become courageous by waiting to feel fearless. They become courageous by acting despite uncertainty. Every small act of consistency creates evidence that they are capable of handling life's challenges. Confidence is not a gift that appears suddenly. It is the reward for repeatedly choosing action over comfort. Integrity plays an equally important role in building inner worth. Integrity means your actions match your values even when nobody is watching. It is easy to appear honest when others are observing. It is far more meaningful to remain truthful when there is no audience, no applause, and no reward. These quiet moments shape your character. Every decision made in private influences. how you see yourself. A person who consistently acts with integrity develops an inner peace that cannot be purchased or borrowed because they know their life reflects their deepest principles. Imagine constructing a building. No architect begins with the roof. The strength of the entire structure depends on the foundation beneath it. Confidence works in the same way. Most people admire visible achievements, but few notice the invisible habits supporting them. Daily discipline, honest effort, patience, and self-control are like the concrete beneath the surface. Others may only see success, but the real strength lies in countless ordinary decisions repeated with consistency. Without that hidden foundation, even impressive achievements eventually collapse under pressure. There is also great power in learning to measure progress by your own standards, rather than the opinions of others. Modern life constantly encourages comparison. People compare careers, appearances, possessions, relationships, and accomplishments. This endless comparison creates unnecessary dissatisfaction, because someone will always appear to have more. If your confidence depends on being better than everyone else, you will never find lasting peace. True confidence comes from becoming a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. The only meaningful competition is with your previous self. Nature provides another valuable lesson. A seed buried beneath the soil receives no applause while it develops its roots. For weeks or even months, nothing visible appears above the ground. Yet during that unseen period, the most important work is taking place. Strong roots are forming, preparing the plant to withstand storms and support future growth. Human character develops in much the same way. The quiet habits no one notices often become the source of extraordinary strength later in life. Reading when nobody is watching, practicing self-control when no reward is offered, and remaining disciplined without external recognition all strengthen the roots of your confidence. Building your worth from within also means accepting responsibility for your own life. Instead of blaming circumstances, waiting for opportunities, or expecting others to rescue you, you focus on what you can control. This mindset creates resilience because your emotional stability no longer depends on favorable conditions. Challenges become opportunities to grow rather than excuses to quit. Every obstacle overcome becomes another piece of evidence that you possess greater strength than you once believed. There will always be people who praise you and others who criticize you. Both responses are temporary. Neither should become the measure of your identity. What remains constant is the person you become through your daily choices. Every disciplined action, every honest decision, every promise kept, and every value honored quietly shapes the strongest form of confidence possible. It is a confidence that does not demand attention, does not seek validation, and does not disappear when circumstances become difficult. Because it has been built from the inside through unwavering character, consistent effort, and an unbreakable commitment to becoming someone you can genuinely respect. Every single day, walking your own path is one of the greatest expressions of self-respect. It is easy to move with the crowd because the crowd offers comfort, familiarity, and the illusion of safety. When everyone is moving in the same direction, there is little risk of criticism. But the path that leads to a meaningful life is rarely the most popular one. It often requires difficult decisions, uncomfortable sacrifices, and the courage to disappoint people who expected you to live according to their plans rather than your own. Self-respect gives you the strength to choose what is right over what is easy, even when that choice leaves you standing alone. Many people spend years trying to become the person everyone else wants them to be. They choose careers to impress relatives instead of following their passion. They remain silent to avoid conflict, even when their hearts long to speak the truth. They stay in relationships that no longer bring peace because they fear being judged for walking away. Slowly, they build a life that looks successful from the outside, but feels empty within. This happens because they have allowed the expectations of others to become louder than the voice of their own conscience. The greatest tragedy is not failing at your dreams. The greatest tragedy is never giving yourself permission to pursue them. Fear of rejection has stopped countless people from discovering their true potential. They wait for approval before taking the first step, believing that confidence will arrive once everyone supports them. But approval rarely comes before action. In many cases, people only recognize your courage after you have already walked the difficult road. If you spend your life waiting for everyone to agree with your decisions, you may never begin the journey that was meant for you. Walking your own path does not mean rejecting advice or ignoring wisdom. There is great value in learning from those with experience. Wise people remain open to guidance because they understand that growth requires humility. However, there is a difference between receiving advice and surrendering responsibility for your own life. Advice should inform your decisions, not replace your judgment. At the end of the day, you are the one who must live with the consequences of your choices. No one else can carry that responsibility for you. Imagine a compass in the hands of a traveler. Storms may appear, winds may change direction, and unfamiliar roads may create confusion. Yet the compass continues pointing towards true north, regardless of the conditions. Self-respect works in much the same way. Your values become your inner compass. Opinions, criticism, praise, and pressure may surround you, but they no longer determine your direction. They become like changing weather, temporary influences that cannot alter your destination, unless you allow them to. There will always be people who misunderstand your decisions. Some may question your ambitions because they are limited by their own fears. Others may criticize your boundaries because they benefited when you had none. Some may even become uncomfortable when they see you growing because your growth reminds them of the changes they have avoided. These reactions are not always about you. Often, they reflect the struggles, insecurities, or expectations of the people expressing them. Understanding this allows you to respond with compassion rather than resentment. Courage is not the absence of fear. Every meaningful decision carries uncertainty. Courage is choosing to move forward despite that uncertainty because your commitment to your values is stronger than your fear of criticism. Every time you remain faithful to your principles, your self-respect becomes stronger. Every difficult decision made with honesty becomes another reminder that your life is guided by purpose rather than popularity. Nature offers a timeless lesson. An eagle does not measure its flight by the opinions of birds that never leave the ground. It rises higher because it follows its own nature. If it constantly looked downward for approval, it would never discover the freedom of the open sky. Human beings face a similar choice. You can spend your life looking sideways, comparing yourself to others, and seeking permission to grow, or you can look forward with quiet determination, trusting the direction your values provide. Walking your own path also requires patience. Not every decision will produce immediate rewards. Sometimes the right choice feels lonely before it feels fulfilling. There may be seasons when your efforts are misunderstood, your progress seems invisible, and your sacrifices go unnoticed. These are the moments when self-respect matters most. It reminds you that meaningful success is not measured by instant recognition, but by the consistency with which you honor your principles over time. As you continue this journey, you begin to realize that freedom is not found in pleasing everyone, but in remaining true to yourself. The opinions around you become quieter because the conviction within you becomes stronger. You stop asking whether people will approve and start asking whether your actions reflect the person you are striving to become. In that quiet confidence, you discover a strength that no criticism can weaken and no applause can increase, because your direction is no longer chosen by the crowd, but by the unwavering values that guide your heart every single day forward with calm, courage, integrity, purpose, resilience, wisdom, and unwavering self-belief.